talk to the Work and Pension Secretary, Mel Stride, who joins us now. And first and foremost, Mr. Stride, can I get your reaction to what we've seen happen in the last hour or so? How concerned should we be, or do you think that the responses here have been a little bit measured?
Well, this is clearly an emerging story, so we don't know the full facts at this stage, and Israel has yet to confirm action or otherwise. Look, I'd make a few points here. I think one is that we firmly believe that Israel has a right to self-defence. But at the same time, of course, what we have been impressing upon the Israeli government is the importance of de-escalation at this point. So whilst we don't know the details at the moment, my hope is that whatever has happened is of a nature where de-escalation can now be the way forward. And of course, we can continue then to focus on the diplomatic work that we and others are doing to ensure that we get humanitarian aid into Gaza. And we've already applied some, or been in discussions with the Israelis to have the Efres border opened up to let aid in, and Ashdod as a port to let aid in, and so on, and also to get the hostages out. That's where we are also focusing.
Did the UK government have advance warning of this strike by Israel in the early hours of this morning? And does the UK government endorse the response by Israel? Because you must be very concerned about escalation in the region.
Well, as I've just said, clearly the message that we and our allies and the Americans as well have for Israel is, yes, you have a right to self-defence, of course, and we are here to support you in that endeavour. But at the same time, we do feel it's very important that the focus now is on de-escalation. I can't comment on the specifics of whether we had warnings or not, or indeed, even at this stage, of course, this is an unconfirmed situation, so we don't actually know precisely, and I certainly don't know what has happened. But de-escalation really has to be the way forward, and that is this government's message.
OK, look, can we ask you about this Sick Note Britain thing? It's across a lot of the papers this morning. The Prime Minister going to war on Sick Note Britain, and part of the move to do this, he says, is to stop GPs giving out sick notes or fit notes or whatever they're called these days. How's that going to work?
Well, the situation at the moment is that we have a growing number of people going on to long-term sickness benefits. There are 2.8 million people on those benefits at the moment. We know that a reasonable proportion of those people, for example, want to work. And what I'm all about is making sure that in that journey that sometimes people are taking from work through a fit note, then into longer-term sickness benefits, that at each stage of that journey we do whatever we can to support people into work. Now, with fit notes, what that means is that when somebody presents themselves to the doctor seeking a fit note at the moment, they get, on average, about 7 minutes of the GP's time, because GPs are very, very pressurised and have an awful lot to do. And on 94% of occasions, a box is ticked on the fit note that says not capable of any work whatsoever. So what we want to do is to move from that situation to a referral by the GP to another piece of an organisation that we're putting together based around something called Workwell, where we will bring together both the healthcare support that individual needs, but also have work coaches involved, so that if they're currently in work, we're working to keep them in work, and if they're close to the labour market, we're there to find them a job, because we believe that work is absolutely essential, not least when it comes to mental health conditions and people improving their situation.
Mental health charities, though, are aghast at these plans. The chief executive of the charity Mind says they're deeply disappointed, continuing a trend in recent rhetoric that conjures up the image that mental health culture has gone too far. They say it's harmful, inaccurate and contrary to the reality for people up and down the country, demonising people for failures of the system. What do you say to that?
Well, I completely and utterly disagree with that. Look, it's a very good thing that as a society we have moved to the point where we can talk very openly about mental health as an issue, and there are many, many people as a consequence of that who are now coming forward and receiving treatment who in the past would have suffered in silence, and that's a huge step forward. At the same time, I think we have to recognise that that work, for example, which is what my department is focused on, is an integral part for many people when it comes to mental health, an integral part of recovery. And I think that message has begun to get lost, and we need to bring that back to the fore. And to give you an example, there's much evidence that this is the case. Work gives you that structure to your life. It brings you into contact with colleagues at work, those conversations at the water cooler, all those kind of interactions and that sense of purpose. It's really good for you, and we mustn't lose sight of that. And what the Prime Minister later on this morning is going to be speaking about is how we can go still further than we are at the moment to make sure that work is central to addressing these particular issues.
But there'll be plenty of people watching and listening now, Minister, who frankly are going to say, well, if I require a significant amount of time off because I'm not well, I want to be able to go and see my GP and get signed off. They're not going to want to go and see the GP, be referred, wait for that, and then go and see a work coach. You can't imagine this going down well with people at all in the run-up to an election.
This needs to be a very efficient process. So Workwell will bring together the medical practitioner with the work support as well in a one-stop shop. So the aim here will be something that will be very efficient and very quick, but will nonetheless put work at the heart of the kind of support that we're able to give people. It's not helpful to people if they're in work at the moment. We know 400,000 people leave work for reasons of ill health each year. It's not helpful if they leave work, lose that contact with employment, and then progress along this health journey, end up as part of that 2.8 million people who are in long-term sickness and disability benefits and a long way from the labour market. We believe we should be intervening upstream, early, to get that kind of support in there. And the kind of support includes things like talking therapies within the NHS. The Chancellor announced 400,000 more of those that will be of huge benefit to those with mental health conditions. We've launched something called universal support, which means we place people into employment and we stay with them for a period of 12 months to support them through, to make sure that they hold down those jobs. But as I say, this is really sharpening up the focus on the importance of work rather than being on benefits.
Mr. Stride, I wanted to ask you about Thames Water, because The Guardian this morning, revealing government plans being considered at the moment for Thames Water to be renationalised and for the £15.6 billion it owes to be added to the public debt. I mean, that's not going to go down well in an election year either, is it?
Well, my understanding is this is a story in The Guardian, and I think it is speculation. This isn't something that the government has said. I think it'd be rather surprising if the government wasn't gaming all sorts of possible scenarios here as to what it might do in certain eventualities. But at the moment, Thames Water clearly is looking at refinancing and in discussions with various people on that front. But I think the sort of guarantee that I can absolutely make today is that whatever happens going forward, people will be able to get their water out of their taps in the usual way. But the story that you've just referred to is not something that the government is saying. I think it's speculation in the press.
OK, well, just so you know, the Guardian newspaper has said that this blueprint is codenamed Project Timber. They say it's at an advanced stage. So just to
let you know.
Just so you know, that's what they're saying this morning.
OK, Minister, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much indeed.